Mark Cuban, the loudest and most polarizing shark, the billionaire who isn't afraid to bark, "I'm out!" But what if I told you that all this rage, all this passion, is nothing more than a mask, and that the real secret to his success isn't about business acumen, but an ancient psychological trick? In this video, we will expose the dark side of his constant distraction. We will analyze the existential anxiety lurking behind his greatest deals and his most outrageous public statements. Everyone knows Mark Cuban, founder of Broadcast.com, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, star of Shark Tank. He is the epitome of the self-made American entrepreneur, an alpha personality who simply doesn't accept failure. But behind the facade of the man who knows everything lies a question no one has seriously asked. Why does it always have to be him? Why must he be the loudest voice in the room? The pivotal moment was the sale of his company, Broadcast.com, to Yahoo, a deal worth $5.7 billion in Yahoo stock right before the dot-com bubble burst. It wasn't just a sale. It was a perfectly executed psychological escape before the world could discover that the emperor had no clothes. And this leads us to the core analysis. What drove him to pull the exit trigger so quickly while everyone else was running towards the illusion? The secret lies in what psychologists call compulsive avoidance hypothesis. Cuban, like many profoundly successful entrepreneurs, doesn't fear failure. He fears the exposure of incompetence. His impulsive and exaggerated actions are a defense mechanism. By controlling the narrative and constantly appearing as the ultimate expert, he prevents anyone from scrutinizing his gray areas. He chooses to be seen as rude or greedy rather than be perceived as confused or ignorant. His primary driver isn't money, it's addiction to constant validation. Every deal, every shout on the basketball court, every televised argument is just a desperate attempt to prove himself to one person, himself. He constantly seeks a new turning point to confirm that his big break wasn't just luck. We must also understand the collective psyche surrounding him. Cuban grew up and excelled in an environment of voracious capitalism where calmness is interpreted as weakness. To succeed in the 80s and 90s, you had to be a savage. He internalized this role until it became part of his biological identity. The sale of Broadcast.com wasn't just a business decision, it was a psychological decision to secure control. He took his profits and converted them into liquidity, thereby removing the fear factor that the market could pull the rug out from under him. This later allowed him to be seen as the prophet who predicted the crash when in reality, he was a masterful escape artist. On Shark Tank, we see the same pattern. When he backs out of a deal, he rarely says there's a risk. Instead, he says, "You don't know your numbers," or "You are uncoachable." He transfers the failure onto the other party to maintain his image as the infallible judge. This behavior is the ultimate expression of the imposter syndrome, trying to hide itself behind a multi-billion-dollar fortune. But what about the moments no one focused on? Those brief flashes where Cuban seems to forget the camera is there. Those moments where his face reveals a profound exhaustion. The paradox here is that Cuban hates the attention, yet he is addicted to the validation. He has an unconscious need to be acknowledged as the smartest, fastest, and most forward-thinking. And this need is the reason he continues to be in the media spotlight, even though he no longer needs the money. Can you imagine being this wealthy, yet continuing to fight as if you were still trying to prove something to your parents? The anger we see is not business anger. It is existential anger. The anger of a person who owns everything, but has yet to find the peace that comes from believing in inner, not external salvation. This anxiety is what made him a billionaire, but it is also what prevented him from ever becoming content. So, the psychological takeaway is both simple and complex. Mark Cuban is the personification of success driven by fear. Not the fear of poverty, but the fear of ignorance. He is a man who finds control in chaos and comfort in being disruptive. He built an empire based on his inability to trust that others know what they are doing. The profound lesson we must take from Cuban is that financial success does not heal psychological wounds. It covers them with gold, but they still bleed beneath the surface. The question now is for you. Are you ready to dive into your own motivations, and is the price you pay to look successful your inner peace? Think about it.